packed up a little bit of shit for my workout tomorrow. I like to bring my workout because I work out far away from my house. So I bring my shit in my car. So as soon as I'm done with my workout, I like stretch a little bit, then walk my ass to my car and eat my potato banana protein shake. Alright, so that's what I have in this bag. Some egg whites and shit for this tomorrow morning. Pre-workout, I'm going to do my review like I said on this. Shaker, gallon of water, that bitch right there. And this is what I did. I was prepping, got my ground beef, got my rice, got my chicken, got some more chicken, got some sweet potatoes and russet potatoes, a whole bunch in there. It takes time, but you know what? Sacrifice to win, bitches! What's up, y'all? Here in my favorite place, the kitchen. Making this quick video talking about bodybuilding nutrition. Really simple video. If you're like advanced, you don't really have to watch this, but there is some good information. And basically, I'm here to help people out. That's why I have a YouTube channel. I want to try to impact people's lives, not just with bodybuilding, but in general. But saving people time is a big thing because, there's so much information out there. And, first of all, you have to experiment with yourself. And Natural Bodybuilder Jordan Day here, talking about nutrition. Okay, this video is more so for beginners. But if you want to watch this and verify all my information, that's totally cool with me. You might even learn something. That's basically what my channel is for. I want to help motivate people first of all, and also spread some information that I think is useful and can do you some good. So, not everybody knows about nutrition. I'm not an expert, although I've taken several classes, both in high school and college, involving nutrition, nutrition courses. Read tons of textbooks, read a lot of Lyle McDonald's work, Lane Norton, whole bunch of people. I've done an extensive amount of research, read studies, all this crap. So I've learned quite a bit, and I've tried to apply it to my own life to test things, because that's the number one thing I recommend to people, is to experiment and to figure out what works for them, because what works for one person might not necessarily work for another. Similar to training and exercise. So nutrition in bodybuilding. Okay, everybody knows in bodybuilding you have to weight train. Okay, you have to do resistance training. Cardiovascular, especially cardiovascular exercise, is extremely important. More so in a pre-contest diet, in a pre-contest phase, rather. And there's also nutrition, which is the most important out of any of those three. You have to train, you have to do your cardio, but if your diet's not on point, you're going to look like shit. And diet is most important, both in bulking and cutting phases, because that's usually how bodybuilding works, is you bulk up and then you cut for a show, or to be hoe ready, as Chris Jones says. So, where to start? Okay, basically, calories. Everyone knows what a calorie is. Basically, the amount of energy needed to raise 1 gram of water 1 degree Celsius. Okay, so that's a calorie. Down from that, there are your macronutrients. Now, macronutrients are your fats, carbs, and proteins. Okay? I like to consider fiber almost a macronutrient. It's a micronutrient, but fiber is pretty much as important as those three things. Okay, you go to any of my videos, basically, I talk about fiber in pretty much every video. Yeah, I think it's important. But there's a lot of other advocates who think that fiber is important, and I feel like the average American doesn't get enough fiber. So if you have to take a fiber supplement, by all means do it. It'll pay dividends in the longer term. But anyway, so you have your macronutrients, your fats, carbs, and proteins. Once you become psychotic enough and you've been, researching and playing around with nutrition a little bit, watching what you eat more, you'll become psychotic like myself and look at the nutrition label of everything. And eventually you'll be able to tell what sources of food are fat sources, carb sources, and protein sources, okay? Your fat sources usually include your oils. So your coconut oil, macadamia oil, extra virgin olive oil, other, olive oils, butter, margarine, almonds, walnuts, nuts, stuff like that, okay? Now, what's the difference there? There's unsaturated fat and saturated fat. Saturated fat is the bad fat with all the health risks that are involved there. Unsaturated fat are your healthy fats, that help with your hormones. Saturated fats as well, but these are more important per se and better for you. These are your oils and shit like that. Saturated fats are your butters. How can you remember this? Saturated fats are solid at room temperature. Unsaturated fats are liquid at room temperature. It's easy because I always when I think of fats, first thing I think of is olive oil. And olive oil is a liquid, and everybody, I would assume, thinks that olive oil is healthy. So there's a connection there. Next are your carb sources. There's sugars and there's complex carbs, okay? This is where you get into a debate whether sugars are bad for you, whether you should completely avoid these and just go with these, completely avoid these, go with these. I don't know anybody who thinks that way, but hey, different strokes for different folks. You should have a mix of the two. You can't have all complex carbs. It's basically impossible. Everything's possible, but it's unrealistic to kind of shoot for that because pretty much everything has carbohydrates in it, some of which are from sugars, okay? So now that that's out of the way, simple sugars are your fast digesting carbohydrates, and your complex carbs are ones that take longer to digest and to burn. Examples of complex carbs are your starches, okay? So like potatoes, white potatoes, sweet potatoes, russet potatoes, okay? Those are my favorites. Oatmeal, some cereals, okay? Some cereals can be classified over here, but like your fiber ones, your honey nut, honey Cheerios, all that good shit. Those are your complex carbs. Simple sugars are like candy, okay? Pop-Tarts, basically everything that tastes good, okay? Ice cream. Ice cream is kind of like a cross between fat and a carb source, depending on what kind you get, really. And then protein sources. The general public probably knows protein sources, basically meats, and sometimes they consider nuts to be a protein source, although I don't personally. Hey man, like I said, different strokes for different folks.